So England are out after just 2 games, and before even Germany have played 2 matches. What a humiliation. But there we go, that's how it is. So I suppose I should do some sort of post-mortem here on Blahzil today. Yeah, well, what can you say that's positive, first and foremost? Well, I thought a few youngsters had decent tournaments. They'll be better for the experience, hopefully if it doesn't damage them too much. And looking ahead, the future will be brighter down the long run. A lot of good statistics in terms of ball retention, in terms of domination of matches, in terms of shots at goal. The final shots weren't that good usually, a lot of bad crossing, and the final ball was awry, but defensively just simply not good enough. It was always the fear before the tournament that we were lightweight at the back and with very little depth in defence as well. Attacking fullbacks, neither of them are naturally defensive kind of fullbacks, and possibly not enough protection in front of the back too as well, but it was still a schoolboy error that saw England finally go home, wasn't it, with that dreadful second goal for Luis Suarez. So once again disappointment, but very early disappointment. Looking back on how things could have been different tactically, what did we think of Roy Hodgson's performance? Well, you know, you admire him in many ways for giving a lot of youngsters a chance. I think that was a good thing, and an avoidable thing as well, really, because if you look at England at present, and this is why our expectations were low going into the tournament, we have no real players, with the possible exception of Wayne Rooney, that are world class in their prime. We've got the old guard who are past their best, and we've got lots of young promising players, but nothing in the middle. And if you're going to do any good in a World Cup, you need that body of world-class players in their prime. In terms of his tactics, well, personally, I think Roy got it wrong. I think that a system that suits this kind of England better, with the lack of experience in it, is probably a 4-3-3. He tried just to play with 2 players in the centre of midfield. In the first game I thought it was better because he had Sterling behind Sturridge, and that gave us 3, because Sterling is more of a natural midfield player certainly than Rooney is, who played the second game in that position. Whilst he played well, was our best player. I just think it gives it's too big an ask for just 2 central midfield players, and once again we outnumbered. And the problem with this 4-2-3-1, it very quickly turns into a 4-4-2, or at least a 4-4-1-1, and we end up with flat lines and people getting between us. I think we'd have been better, and I said this before the tournament, with 4-3-3, 3 midfield players, and then attack with 3 players, just because you've got to give yourself a chance defensively. But you know, I applaud the fact that he gave the youngsters and had a go, and that's what we all asked for, wasn't it? That he played faster, positive football, so we can't complain too much. But going forward, I think we need to be a little bit more intelligent tactically on the field of play. The other thing I noticed really was that we don't really have players to spot problems on the pitch. Even our experienced ones, Steven Gerrard, wonderful player that he is, he's not the kind of player. He's always been an individual in many ways. Yes, he's sort of adapted himself to play in this holding role, and he played it brilliantly for Liverpool all season. Whilst his speed is diminishing day by day, really, which happens to us all in the end. But he's not really a player that can organise and spot problems on the pitch. He was always actually relatively indisciplined as a player in many ways. He played off the cuff, if you like, but he didn't spot the danger on the left side of England's defence in the first game, which was, you know, it's pretty obvious after a few attempts. We don't seem to have any of those kind of players on the pitch at the minute, someone that can spot something and deal with it. I've played with loads of players in my time. I remember my era. I hate going back to the old days. We weren't that great either most of the time. But, you know, we had Terry Butcher who could do things like that, Ray Wilkins, Brian Robson, players that could spot problems on the pitch. And that's something that's missing from this current crop. But again, you know, we've got a lot of inexperienced players in there. But so it's an early journey home, and we've got to wait for the Euros now in 2 years' time. But I think gradually, you know, we've come a little bit of the way in terms of development of young players. We've got a long way to go. We're playing catch up on the rest of the world, but at least now we are starting to. We've changed things in the development of young players. We've got small-sided pitches for youngsters. We've got much better coaching of players, certainly in the club's academies. So that's why we're seeing young players emerge, and that's going to get better over the time. And eventually we'll hopefully develop enough players that that we'll have a decent percentage of players from England playing in the Premier League, and that's the only way it will change. That's the only way we'll get the depth to actually compete in these tournaments. So the future's brighter than it was.